Hey, Pascal here again, and in this video I'm talking about if the first thing that you should buy should either be a camera or a drone.
My name is Pascal Basel, and in 2015 I quitted my job to escape the rat race and travel the world. While doing that, I rediscovered my old passion for filmmaking and learned to fly drones. Now I make videos of the most beautiful places in the world. Be part of my adventures and learn how to make cinematic travel videos.
So I'm in Kuching right now. It's a city on Borneo, pretty nice place actually. You can see orangutans just 30 minutes out of the city. I did that 2 days ago. It will be a nice video. And here are also a lot of cultures, so there's also plenty of foods and different drinks here and so on. So I found this nice matcha latte here. I really love matcha latte. Oh yeah, that's good. So if you haven't tried matcha latte yet, then definitely do that, of course. This is like a pre-made from the supermarket, but it actually tastes quite good. But the best is definitely if you do it by yourself or you buy it in a shop, and you will love it. So Kuching is definitely a nice place. I love that in Asia here there's so much to see and explore, and also a lot of food. And yeah, of course a lot of adventures, and that's why I publish at least one video per week, usually two, like one tutorial video on Thursday like I do right now, or on Sunday another video about traveling or like a bit more in-depth tutorial videos. So if you haven't done yet, then hit the subscribe button now and let's get started. So should you buy a camera at first, or should it better be a drone if you are in a decision-making process right now? I would say, of course, it depends a little bit on what you want to do, especially when you want to do photography, and you want to specialize in aerial photography, then it could actually make sense to get a drone at first. But I would say in all other cases, it would better be to get a camera at first. So in photography, and especially aerial photography, I must actually say that especially the shutter speed doesn't matter so much, because when you film like higher up from the air, then usually you don't have that much motion blur, or you don't want to soften any water so on, so you don't make long exposure photos. So when you're a photographer and you want to become a photographer and you want to specialize directly in aerial photography, you have no really interest in normal photography, you only want to do the aerial stuff, then it could make sense to buy a drone at first. But this is actually a video channel here, so I want to focus on the video part. And I must actually say that if you want to start with video, then a drone shouldn't be the first thing that you want to buy. The first thing should definitely be to buy a nice camera. And that is because the most important thing when it comes to videography is storytelling. You want to tell a story. And I mean, of course, you can do that also with drones. I actually love about drones that you can get different angles of a place, and that definitely adds a lot to storytelling. But the most important parts of storytelling happen on the ground, and I mean, it's quite hard to do that when you only have a drone. I mean, like, I actually read this question on a Facebook group, and that's why I'm doing that video right now here. And like, one guy commented that you can also use a drone like in your hand, like here's my Mavic Air, so I could like take the Mavic Air and do stuff like that to get some nice slide shots and so on. So I could actually use it like a normal camera, but it's not the same, because like it's much less convenient to use than a normal camera. And of course, like, I mean, you have a gimbal here. Like if I turn the gimbal protector off, then you see you have a gimbal here, so you would get stable footage. But the problem with gimbals is that they are not stabilized in the horizontal axis. So you would definitely also need to learn how to use it, because like even if you just move the drone like that with your hand, then it's definitely possible, or very likely, that you would get some shake in your footage, and it's kind of weird. So I personally prefer to have a stabilized sensor like in the GH5, or if you don't have the budget for a GH5, then also the G85 from Panasonic. It's actually a pretty good camera. I had it before and it just costs around $1,000, actually a bit less. So that's definitely a good option here. So like, that's the most important point here, I would say, to make it a bit more clear why it's not that convenient to use a drone. So let's say I want to get a shot fast because I want to tell my story about traveling or whatever. then I have to get my camera out quickly. So let's say I will shoot with my GoPro. I just need to press one button, wait around 5 seconds, and it starts recording. So that's great. But of course, GoPro is not good for everything because you have a wide angle, like a fisheye and so on. It doesn't look good, especially when you want to film a close object. And therefore, I have also my GH5. I actually use my GH5 most of the time. Or it's not about the GH5. You can use any DSLR, DSLM camera for that. But even with a DSLR, I take it out, I turn the camera on, I expose my shot, and I press the record button, and it's recording. So that's also like 5 to 10 seconds for me to do that. And now, if I would use the drone here, like usually it's folded here, like the Mavic. Of course, when you have a Phantom, you don't need to unfold it. And I have the gimbal cover on here. So let's say I see my shot there and I want to get that shot as soon as possible. Then I would need to take out my drone. I need to unfold it. Then need to remove the cover. Have my drone set up. Then I would need to connect my iPhone with the controller. I need to start everything, start the drone, start the controller, start the app on the iPhone. I would need to wait a few seconds, like probably around 5 to 10, until everything connects. And then I need to expose my shot, and then I can start. And then also, if you want to do a handheld shot, then you have like one hand with your phone and the controller and one hand with your drone. I mean, there are those holders that are pretty cool where you have the phone over the drone. It's a nice invention, but seriously, it's still a lot. It takes a lot of time to set everything up. Even if you set it up before, you need to turn everything on, you need to start the app and so on. And that just takes a lot of time, and it just doesn't make fun to shoot a video like that, trust me. So it's much more convenient to simply take your camera out and make the shot, right? Especially like I have the Low Pro 350 bag, and that's pretty nice because I can access my camera and also the drone pretty fast. And I also got from Peak Design like this little clip here where I wear my camera always in front of my shoulder. And that's nice because I can just grab my camera within a matter of 2 seconds, turn it on, and I get the shot directly. So it's actually a fast way to do that. And just because of the convenience, it definitely makes more sense to buy a normal camera because you won't miss much shots, and it's much better to tell a story. And the next thing is, of course, also that you have a weaker lens on a drone. So for example, if you want to film close to objects with a drone, you don't get that much of a nice bokeh effect, like having some blurred out backgrounds or foregrounds depending on the shot. And I mean, that's a huge factor because it looks so much better. And also, drones are not made for filming close to objects. They are made for being a bit farther away, at least a few meters. And so it definitely won't look that nice, especially also with a wide angle from the drone usually, to film close to objects. So with a camera, you have your lens, and you can actually change the lens usually, of course, depending on what kind of camera you get. And that gives you a lot of flexibility for different shots. You get usually nice bokeh effects, especially when you use like full frame APS-C or Micro Four Thirds sensors. And talking about the sensor here, that's also important for low light. So let's say you want to shoot a travel video of your next vacation, and you probably want to start the story. It's again about the story. You want to start the story in your hotel room probably, and like here now it's a bit darker. I mean, you can turn the lights on, but it's really not the same. Like even artificial light is not good for a small sensor. And if I have a small sensor like that here, it's just not good for low light. So if I would use that drone here to shoot inside my hotel room now, even if I turn the lights on, then I will get a lot of noise in the shot. That doesn't look good. And yeah, we'll also lose details in the shadows. That's not nice. So therefore, it's definitely good to have at least a Micro Four Thirds sensor on your camera, or an APS-C or full frame. Both are definitely better for low light, but especially with the GH5 or better even GH5S, it's very good also to film in low light conditions. So that's also a huge advantage here of cameras, and that gives you so much more options. And let's say you're in a restaurant and you want to film like the food you're eating in between a trip or after a trip or something, and then you suddenly start out taking your drone up and so on. Of course, you don't fly it, but you're just doing it like that, like discussed before, like taking it in your hand. It would look kind of weird there, and it makes everything more complicated. So also there, you just take out your camera, get the shot, the quality is even better, and that's awesome. So, but let's come to a conclusion here. So, as you definitely recognized in the video, I would definitely say that for a filmmaker, it's better to get a camera before. And also another reason that I want to mention here is definitely the learning effect. I mean, like, you want to learn how to control a camera, how to control your exposure and do color grading and so on later. And like a normal camera is definitely better to learn that because it gives you more option. Like even on the cheaper cameras, you can control your shutter speed, you can control your aperture, you can control your ISO, you can control so much. So here on the Mavic Air, for example, I also can control my shutter speed and my ISO, but I cannot control my aperture, and that's also kind of a problem for exposing sometimes, especially if you want to stick to the 180-degree rule and so on. Of course, there are ND filters and so on, but if you're a beginner, then you shouldn't focus on more complicated stuff like filters and so on. You should at first learn your camera and how to set it up, how to expose correctly and so on. And especially like when you're with a drone in the air, it makes it more complicated because you need to focus on the drone to don't crash it and so on. But you don't have much time to focus so much on the exposure and so on. So that's also a reason why, if let's say you use a camera at first for a few months and you learn how to expose correctly, then later when you have the drone in the air, you don't need to think that much about anymore on how to expose because you already know how it works from your camera. So that's also a good point here, definitely, to buy a camera at first, the learning part. But I would say let's come to a conclusion now. So yeah, like mentioned already multiple times, my opinion is definitely to get a camera at first and not a drone. And I mean, you can do very good videos only with a drone. Like I published one video recently that was entirely shot on the Mavic Air. It's called, like, I think Thailand on the Mavic Air or something. I will link the video here. And it's quite nice, but it's also a very short video. I think it was like 90 or 120 seconds or something. It was really not that long. And let's say I would only produce videos like that, like only drone travel videos. It would become quite boring from time to time because all those like close-up shots, middle shots and so on, that is all missing. And that adds so much to the story. And if you watch my videos or most of my videos, then you will actually see that most of my shots come from the GH5 and not from my drone or even from my GoPro. So in my opinion, it's so important to get a camera at first, just to capture the story more. And that's everything that matters. I mean, there are so much YouTube channels out there where the quality of the video itself is not actually good. Like they have bad color grading and so on, but they tell great stories, and that's why those channels become successful. Really, storytelling is the most important part, and it's easier and better to do with a normal camera, especially when you're starting out. So definitely get a camera at first. So I really hope I was able to help you a little bit with that question if you're starting out right now. If yes, and if you need some more tutorial videos on both cameras and drones, then hit the subscribe button now, because I publish 2 videos per week right now. On Thursday, 1 tutorial video, and on Sunday usually a bigger travel video or a bigger tutorial video. So don't miss that out, and see you in one of the next videos.